Hey, welcome to Football 101. Dave Wyman from Danny, Dave, and more. And Seahawks finally getting a much-needed win, 24-13 win over the Dallas Cowboys. One of the guys that I've been talking about a lot is Bradley McDougald, and for good reason. He's just played really well, and especially on a day when Cam Chancellor raised the 12th man flag. And, you know, you can't compare anybody to Cam Chancellor, but Bradley McDougald is probably the best football player on this team right now, the way he's playing. So this is a play from the first quarter, 3rd and 3 at the 3:03 mark. And what the Dallas Cowboys have here is they got a trips left, 3 wide receivers to one side and then 1 to the other. And the Seahawks are running cover 1. Now, they run that quite a bit. And the reason why they like it so much is because they have such great athletes that they can match up with anybody. So basically, in man-to-man coverage is pretty simple for guys assignment-wise. You know, it's like you follow that guy wherever he goes. There's no reading or anything like that. And Bradley McDougald is locked up here on this tight end, Swaim, and he's not a great athlete. But what they have here is, and talk about who covers this guy, because you have one more guy in coverage than you need, and what we used to call it is cover 1 robber. And robber just means that one of these 2 guys, the 2 linebackers, is going to be free to help out in coverage. And another thing, and this is what I saw on this play, and I'm not sure if they call it this or what their rules are, but we used to call it green dog. Okay, and that's a call between these 2 linebackers. And first of all, as far as coverage goes, if he goes this way, then Bobby's going to take him. And if he goes that way, then Austin Calitro, who's in the game, is going to take him. And what happens is he ends up blocking here. So that activates the green dog. So that means if your coverage decides to block, then you can go get the quarterback. And that's kind of what Calitro did. He actually ran into a blocker here, but he sees that his guy is blocking, which was Ezekiel Elliott, and then he just rushes the passer. Now Bobby's the robber. He's the guy that can sit back. Him and Earl both. You have 2 guys there that are looking to help someone. And one of the things that happens, and first of all, the route by the tight end here, he comes across and Bradley McDougald picks him up. And so Bobby passes on that as far as help, because that's a good matchup for us. Bradley McDougald on a tight end, it's definitely a good matchup. So he kind of works this way, and then Earl did the same thing, and they were looking for something maybe to help out here. And so that's what, when you're a free guy or a robber, you want to look for the worst matchup, or, you know, a matchup that's not even. So that's what those guys did. But as far as the crosser here, and where Bradley McDougald did such a good job on this, is I always say this, there's 3 parts to every play. Number 1 is getting lined up. Number 2 is executing your responsibility in the defense. And then the 3rd part is just being a football player and using your technique. And one of the things that Bradley did so well here is he got in like a trail position behind the tight end, and he was going to his right. So what he did was he kind of grabbed his upfield hip, put his hand there. Now, you don't want to grab it and pull, because that would be pass interference, but he kept his hand there, and then he reached with what we used to call the long arm of the law. And the reason why it's longer to reach this way is because of the width of your back. If you were to come this way with this hand, you can only get to about right there. The other thing about that is that if he does catch the ball, then he's going to go upfield and you're not going to be able to tackle him. So you have your hand there in case he catches the ball, and then you reach with this arm, which is much longer. And that's exactly what Bradley McDougald did. And there's an example in the Monday night game. Michael Kendricks thought he had an interception, and he went and jumped a ball, and, you know, he reached with the shorter arm, didn't get the interception. It goes into, I think it was Howard, into his hands. He ends up catching it and getting a huge gain, so because he had both hands here and not one, you know, to tackle him. So Bradley McDougald has just been all over the place. He's made a bunch of plays, a couple of interceptions, and this really stood out to me, just the technique and how he did that so perfectly. And I've said this a lot about Bradley. He never does wrong. You look at whenever it's the run game, he always takes care of his gap. He's very good against the run, and I think he's actually an upgrade in coverage to Cam Chancellor as far as his ability to cover downfield. So just a great job by Bradley McDougald, just executing perfect technique.